He paid me $5,000 to scale his coaching business to $50,000 a week with webinar funnels, a breakdown. So I met this guy called Christian, and at the time that we met, he was currently running a call funnel, but he had issues with the funnel. He told me that as clients were coming in through the funnel, some of them were unqualified, a lot of them didn't have understanding of the offer, and he had to get them up to speed with what he was currently doing before actually selling them. And that's when we decided that webinar funnels would be the best course of action for him, right? Because when we're running webinar funnels, what we're really doing is trying to educate the prospect on every single aspect of the offer, the business, and what they're getting into before they purchase, giving us a chance to handle those objections. And that got us to $50,000 revenue, $38,000 in cash collected, and a total of 163 registrants for a high ticket offer of $5,000, right? This was a make money online offer. And in this video, my goal is to break down the webinar structure for you, exactly what we did to get him that figure and exactly what we could potentially do for your business, right? So usually for webinar structures, this is the structure we usually implement. So we have our traffic source, and usually that's paid ads, Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok, wherever your audience is. And we redirect them towards a webinar page. The webinar page typically has a VSL and a register here button. And from there, we take them to an upsell. The goal of the upsell is to run us and liquidate some of the ad spend that we're currently spending, the front end ad spend, and also to kind of motivate the buyers to have something and increase that shop rate for people who do buy. Then from there, we have a thanks for booking page, and this is the page whereby we give them all the information about exactly what's going to be happening with the webinar. So we add another VSL, we give them an agenda document, and this is especially good for an older demographic, just telling them exactly what will be in the webinar. Then we give them some FAQs with chapters, just answering the most frequently asked questions that our audience is most likely to have. And the goal of this is to kind of handle all those pre-objections that they'd have to joining you, because remember, after they sign in, they still need to show up. So you want to handle all the things that would make them not show up in these FAQs. You have a more long form, you can have a longer YouTube videos, and you usually want to show some of your testimonials, and the testimonials should match the ICP or the demographic that you're targeting. By showing testimonials, you kind of show people who have gone through your program and people who've succeeded. From there on, you typically go into 2 to 4 value dense emails every day, hammer them ads and SMSs and email sequences. And then you have the live webinar to book a call. And then after that, you run a replay series whereby everyone who engaged with the webinar or ads who booked in is put into a 7-day sequence to nurture them even more and to retarget them so that they can hop on a call. Now I'm going to go through that structure, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly how we went from step 1 to build him this webinar funnel that got him this result, right? So you usually want to start with the messaging and offer construction. So there are different offer types. There's book a call funnel, which is where you give them an application for them to book a call. There's the direct to checkout model, whereby you announce the price and you give them the opportunity, you send them to a product and you give them the opportunity to buy within the webinar. And there's a hybrid model whereby you give them the opportunity to deposit an amount of money, and then after the deposit, they get to book a call. So typically we run a book a call funnel offer, and this is best for high ticket offers, usually above $2,000. For any high ticket offer, we usually recommend booking a call because it allows for one-on-one objection handling and personalized positioning. And although it has a slower sales cycle, it allows you to extract maximum value from your customers. So what that usually looks like is that they'll hop on a call with a closer and you get to handle all the objections that they have. And you can do this for an offer that's worth $10,000, $7,500, anything above $2,000. And people feel more comfortable if they hop on a call with a closer to pay you money because they feel like it's a big investment. They usually want someone to guide them through it. Then we use a type form if the volume is too high, but if the audience is elite, we usually just send them to a booking link, and that goes to webinar, application, and booking, right? So we chose a book a call funnel for Christian because his offer was a high ticket offer. Now, what we had to do is this: we had to first identify the ICP and everything to do with the ICP. And the way we do our market research is that we usually like to take all the sales calls that he's had and we analyze all the sales calls, the demographic of people who are in the sales calls, their biggest objections, their biggest pain points, desires, and fears. And we like to document that and we'll turn that into all of our marketing copy. And so we did that. We took out all the sales calls, we put them in Claude because we use AI, and we came up with an AI ICP analysis. From there, we were able to craft messaging, pain points, and desires, and we were able to put it into a Notion doc and create an avatar that we call Steve and find out everything that this avatar would most likely to have, right? And from there, we were able to craft number one, a webinar offer, which is a unique proposal that goes into our webinar registration page and ads that we know that the audience would like to see. And we were able to also craft resources for the upsell and bonuses that would advertise on the webinar in order to get people to buy. Then we were able to map out the ICP, their desires, their pain points, objections, and most importantly, their buying triggers or things that they would want to hear that would make them buy soon. And then after that, we did market research on all our competitors, their positioning, and how we could improve their positioning in order to come up with a differentiation within the market. Because typically, some of the offers we run are kind of saturated, and so the audience is a bit more sophisticated. So you kind of need to come up with a new positioning or a new justification for why they should buy from you. And we did that by looking on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram to ensure that our positioning really is unique and talking directly to our avatar. So by doing that, we were able to find the target ICP that was able to have higher quality leads, meaning that people who are financially qualified to be buying from us. We were able to craft data-driven messaging that ensured that we were putting out messaging that stopped broke people from booking in and attracted financially qualified people. We were able to come up with a strong offer and create a stronger buying intent among the audience and have clearer differentiation. Right? So by the time we got here, we understood the most important aspect of building out a webinar funnel offer, and that is identifying which offer got our clients the result they most consistently wanted and solved the most amount of problems for them. From that, we're able to base all our marketing off that offer and off the messaging that was the most efficient. Right? And the basis of this is basically that you need to craft the strongest offer in order for people to buy from you. Then we go into the funnel. The most essential part of a funnel is understanding that a funnel is just the step-by-step buying process or where your customers are at before they convert or buy from you. So typically for webinar funnels, if you're running to a cold audience, you want to identify exactly the steps they've gone through, the touch points that they've had with your business or with your offer before they buy. So usually the people who hop onto the funnel are in the consideration space. They've clicked an ad or a post that we've had, and now they're aware. And then they redirect them towards the funnel, which means that they're in the consideration phase. Now, I want you to consider this. Webinar funnels are unique because they extend the consideration, unlike other funnels that demand the customer to buy the product immediately. They put off the date to a later time. So the funnel is not only selling the opportunity presented, but also mainly selling the customer to show up. So typically you'd have, let's say you have a call funnel. A call funnel is directly selling the book a call link within the funnel, whereas a webinar funnel is selling the audience the idea of showing up to the webinar itself. And then on the webinar, we're moving them from the consideration to the conversion stage. So webinar funnels usually have a typically longer consideration phase, and you should create all your funnels with that in consideration. So we're here. Now, in the webinar funnel, you have to consider this. You are selling the show up process. You're selling them to show up on the webinar. That's the main thing. And then you're slightly pre-selling them on the actual offer. So that means that you need to include emotional drivers. You need to include urgency in your copy. You need to emphasize that this is happening now. Pride. You're speaking directly to them and showing them that people within the same demographic as them are doing better than they are. Relief, you need to show them that it's a full system and that they don't have to go out looking for pieces. You have to appeal to their status, and you have to appeal to their fear no matter where they are at. Then for objections, a lot of the objections are usually time objections whereby they think that they don't have enough time, authority objections whereby they don't trust you, risk objections whereby they think that the thing that you're selling is risky, and trust objections, which is a byproduct of authority objections whereby they don't really trust you. And then you need to ensure that you're constantly shifting belief. You shift belief by gaining authority, showing them proof, and then that would lead them towards a new belief system. The attachment between authority, who you are, and proof that something similar has happened to people who are exactly like them leads them towards a belief shifting moment. And if you partner all of this within your copy or within your funnel, then you're sure to convert them and you're sure to sell them on the shop process, and you're pre-selling them. Now you have to execute this in all the funnel parts: the VSL, the headlines, the landing pages, the email copy, the ads, the pre-call flows, and the CTAs. And you have to do this while constantly speaking to them and their marketing messages. So our webinar funnel usually looks like this. We usually have an opt-in page that leads towards a headline, a VSL, we have a register here button, and we have the time and the date right over here. Then we redirect them towards an upsell or a group chat page. And usually this has something sort of a $47 product that we have, thanks for registering, and a VSL. And typically you'd have a button at the bottom here that tells them to book to the WhatsApp earned, to add the event to their calendar. Then after that you have a thank you page whereby you also show them a VSL and an agenda document for your older demographic, whereby you directly pitch to them what will be happening in the webinar. You have FAQ questions, and the point of the FAQ questions is to ensure that you're handling all the objections that would lead to them not showing up on the webinar. And then for more long form, you have a bunch of testimonials that you kind of lead with to show them that people similar to who they are on the program. Now, from there on, I'll show you the back-end systems that we run for Christian in order to get this result. So your funnel is only as good as your tech stack. What you don't track or understand is money being lost. And after leading multiple webinars, I realized that your back-end system is one of the most time-inducing parts of building this system. And that's why our main goal is to actually take away the hassle from you as much as you can. You need to pay at least 5 figures to have the tracking systems or methodologies that we currently have implemented for our clients. And when I started working with my client, he was still using outdated tech and didn't have clear systems he could use in order to track and create systems that would make his business profitable. And this pulled him into the treacherous situation of being stuck doing guesswork and making gut-felt decisions that made him sleep uneasy, not knowing what's correct and what's incorrect. Right? And so this is how our tech stack typically looks like. We use Webinar Jam for the webinar hosting itself. We use WhatsApp or Facebook for community building. We use Typeform for our applications. We use Airtable for tracking and dashboards. Then we use Slack for our comms, like communication between closers, setters, and the team. We have Close for our CRM. We have ClickFunnels for our funnels, and then we usually use HighLevel for our email automations and SMS automations and marketing. And then we use Zapier for our automations as something that connects between all these tools that we have. At the base of a profitable backend system is that it tracks every lead through their journey and every step that they go through. So I'm going to take you through how we track our data. So a lead enters and they input the data within ClickFunnels, and ClickFunnels will create a contact and track their UTM source from where they came from. Then we'll collect that data through Zapier and we'll transmit it to Close on our CRM, whereby we have a pipeline that we'll add them into, and Airtable, where we track all our registrant data and exactly the steps they've taken. From there, we'll use Zapier again to register them onto Webinar Jam. and add them as a registrant. Then we'll use Go WhatsApp community building and go high level SMS and email automations to ensure that these people are showing up. You can use ConvertKit if you have, or whatever, HubSpot or whatever email marketing tool you currently use. Then from there, during the time of the webinar, we'll have Webinar Jam for our hosting and Typeform for a book a call application. And then from there, after they apply for the Typeform, we'll have a message that goes towards Slack for communicating between the closer so that they can see who booked, and Close for the sales system. And then we'll track every step around the way. We'll see who registered for the webinar, we'll see who showed up exactly, we'll see which people converted. And tracking every step of the way of your leads ensures that we have effective marketing. Then from there, we'll have a communication center, which is where we'll be communicating with the team that we have, which is setters, closers, and dialers, just so that they can see exactly who's registering, who's applying, and how we can ensure that they close. So I want you to take you through our data management process with inputs, which is all the data we're getting. We set KPIs, be it show up rates, conversion rates. We retrieve the data of exactly what happened. We analyze the data. We identify the flaws or what we could have done better. And then we iterate based on the data, and we come up with implementation. And then from there, we come up with our output. So it usually takes us 1 to 2 to 3 webinars just to get every single thing right. But once you do, you can scale with the system and have a system that's as profitable as possible. Then we typically have databases for all our customers, right? So these are example dashboards for our client incubator internal challenge funnel. This is exactly how it looks like, and we track data on this dashboard that you can see. And on the dashboard, you have the ability to see all the leads who logged in, all the revenue, all the transactions, and it just tells you about the health of the funnel itself. Now, I want to take you through the launch process that we have, and this is one of the most important stuff, is the launch system. Now, a lot of the times, most people who don't have an audience will lean towards using ads as a way to get themselves through the door and get an audience in their first webinar. And I want to take you through the ad strategy that we have in order to make our webinars as profitable as possible. The campaign setup, the promotional timeline, and everything in between. So the first webinar that we typically have, we like to launch 7 to 10 days of promo. And the reason why we do this is because a lot of the times your first webinar will be a testing webinar. So you need to test creatives, you need to test the funnel, you need to test the copy, and you want to have as much time as testing as possible. You need to test what works before you move on to any other webinar. So we like to do 7 to 10 days of promo. We'll launch our ads 7 to 10 days before. We'll see which ones are performing, which ones are underperforming. You take out the underperforming ones, you leave out the ones that are performing. We have split tests for all our funnels, all the funnel copy. We see which ones perform better, and then we keep that. After you do that, if you have a proven webinar, you typically want to launch 4 to 5 days before the webinar. The reason why you want to launch closer is because you need to remember that the people who register when the promo starts typically forget that they have registered by the time the promo ends. And so as time goes by, you want to increase your promo gradually so that by the end of the day, you're sending out as many emails, you're registering as many people as you can, and you're still reminding these people that they have to join. Right, so we usually use meta advertisements, and we have a campaign setup that looks like this. We have campaign budget optimization, 3 ad sets, a broad, a lookalike, and an interest stack. We like the broad ad set because the new meta update uses AI to find your ideal customer, and so having it broad gives it a chance to find out who's most likely to buy. Although we like to add filters depending on typical niche or industry data of who's most likely to buy. So if you're running a retirement planning service or something like that, we will target people who are just about to retire. Then we usually do a lookalike audience ad set. This is a lookalike audience of buyers who've already typically bought from you. We usually do this for customers who have a list of more than 1,000 buyers who bought from them, just so that we can find people who are most likely their buyers. And then we usually do an interest stack for all the clients, just so that we can target that. And then we have a campaign set up for ABO, ad set budget optimization, and this one usually goes towards the warm audience tag. So if you have social media, every single person who's replied or interacted with your site in the last 180 days will be targeted by this campaign setup. An additional thing for the ads is that we typically recommend every single person who's running ads to have a budget of at least $500 a day. That's the cutting point, because $500 a day gives you a lot of room to go out there and explore, and it means that you're not tight with your budget. It means that you're not cutting it close, and it gives you a good amount of people who will register for it. With $500 a day, you can register a good amount of people, and we do that for the promo time, so 7 to 10 days and 4 to 5 days, and then from there we plan for our next webinar. Then we have content strategies. So if you have a huge email list, we have a content strategy for launching a webinar to your email list. So we usually start with a bunch of warm-up emails just to ensure that the people are receiving the emails and you're not burning through your email list. So we deposit some value using case study emails showing what's been happening in the program and update. Then we implement a bunch of value emails just so that we can give the value and we can make people want to open our emails because they know that they're going to be getting value from it. From there, we do our promo emails whereby we start with the first announcement for our webinar. Then we have different amounts of hooks or angles that we test with our emails to ensure that people are constantly booking onto the webinar. So that could be a free coaching hook, like get this free coaching on the webinar. Value dense with a CTA to the webinar, telling them that you're going to teach them more on the webinar. You want to have a shock hook. This is just a copywriting tactic, but it gets people to click to read and book for the webinar. Then you have fear of missing out, whereby you kind of tell them what's going to happen in the webinar. And then finally, you have objection handling, which is handling any objections that might restrict them from wanting to join the webinar. Then from there on, you're going to fear of missing out reminder emails to your whole list, just telling them 24 hours left to join the webinar or warning off to register for the webinar. And this is basically just to push them to want to register for it and advertise the webinar as something that they should absolutely join. Then we have a story sequence strategy whereby people who typically have Instagram will use this, where you treat a story sequence as a sort of email list that you have. So we usually have a hook, story, proof, and CTA to the webinar for the audience on the story. And we usually have a mini chat automation that also adds a setter into the mix to convince people to hop on and register for the webinar. Then from there on, after you have the webinar and pitch them, you can have your setters and closers reach out to every single person. Then one of the biggest drivers is post and community update. So anywhere that you have an audience, you want to be posting about the webinar consistently. If you're in LinkedIn, you want to use post and LinkedIn events, which have been really printing, to advertise your webinar. Then you want to use, if you have a Facebook, you want to use Facebook page posts, just advertising the webinar, telling them what time it will be and everything like that. Then Instagram, you want to have Instagram posts whereby they comment and then you send them the link to the webinar. School posts, which are just community posts advertising the webinar. And then Twitter lead magnet posts whereby you DM them the webinar link directly. Now, after you've solved your traffic issue, we have the webinar show-up system. And our benchmark is that we want a 30% show-up rate on cold traffic and a 40 to 60% show-up rate on warm traffic. And the way you do that is by having a robust show-up system that handles common objections, remove doubts and limiting belief, and showcases studies and proof and reminders. So we usually have 2 to 4 value dense emails a day, and leading up to the webinar we might even send 4 to 5 emails a day just to ensure people are reading them, knowing that the webinar is kind of happening. Usually this is the moment when you want to shout about your webinar. And so here is the email flow we typically have. You have a confirmation email, a join the WhatsApp or Telegram email, why you can't miss this. Offer on a story and credibility post to make people trust you and to build that rapport. You want to have an agitate core problem whereby you're talking about the problems that they have, future pacing and success stories whereby you kind of pitch to them what will happen once they join. You want to give them an insider preview of the content that will be covered during the webinar, an objection buster for not showing up, just kind of handling every single objection that they may have to not join. Then you want to have a day before reminder, morning off reminder, 2 hours before, 15 minute, and live. So these are just the reminders to tell them that the webinar is going to be happening, right? Then you want to have an SMS flow. You start off with an immediate question-based SMS, just asking them what they would like to see on the webinar. And we do this because it improves our delivery rates for SMS and makes us not be tagged as spam as much, right? If you want to ask them what will be on the webinar, what they want to see on the webinar, and when they reply, it's positive for our number. Join WhatsApp, Telegram group chat, SMS, 24 hours before, 1 hour before, live SMS, and 15 minutes after SMS. One thing you want to make sure is you're not sending a lot of spammy SMSs because then your number could be banned. Then you want to get them into a WhatsApp group. You want to aim for a 75% conversion rate into the WhatsApp or the Facebook community group. We usually typically like this because it's another place whereby you can target them, because every single person is checking their WhatsApp or their Facebook community and they may not necessarily be checking their email at a certain time. And the theory of marketing is that if you can reach to them as many places as possible and remind them of the webinar, then they're more likely to join. So usually inside of the WhatsApp, you want to have a poll to survey the attendees. Just kind of find out exactly who's joining and their awareness level and the pain points that they have, because these are the people who are going to be on the webinar and the people you're going to hop on a sales call with. So you kind of want to have this in-depth understanding of who they are. So you want to do polls, 50-50 tests, just to find out who they are. Then you want to have a calendar link whereby they can add the event to their calendar just so that it can also remind them. You want to send links to the case study videos that you have, and you want to pin this message and run up to the webinar. So you want to send them case studies of people who are similar to them and everything far and in between. And then you want to have lead magnets, the main lead magnet that attracts people to join the group up there. And this should be something that adds value, creates value when they hop onto the webinar. Then you want to send as many voice notes and videos frequently, just so that you can build as much rapport with them, introduce them to the sound of your voice, to your face, just so that they can understand exactly who you are, especially with cold traffic who've never seen you before. This really helps during the webinar. And then after the webinar, you want to message leads that have booked a call and filled out an application with the setter or a VA who has access to the group chat. And you also want to add the Typeform link inside of the WhatsApp group and kind of pitch to them afterwards. Next, we also run Hammer Them ads, right? And the goal of Hammer Them ads is to recreate the organic sales process before the webinar. So usually the leads who are coldest wouldn't have met you, and so we use Hammer Them ads to kind of familiarize yourself to them, and they act as value and reminders to warm up the leads and replicate the organic sales process, as we said, and pure value that answers common objections and building trust. And they don't have CTAs, just to remind them to hop onto the webinar, to show them that you're competent, and to give them a reason to join and trust you. And this is part of that authority building that we got into, whereby you're building up your authority and you're showing them exactly who you are. Usually the Hammer Them ads are a traffic campaign with a separate ad set that we dedicate 3% of the total campaign spent to, and only set to a custom audience of people who registered or applied for the webinar. And that's the show up system that we currently run. From there, we go into the most important part, which is the webinar flow. What's actually going to be said within this webinar? So we have a hook, right? And the point of the hook is to validate the promise we set to the audience that they are in the right place. It's like a YouTube thumbnail on the first slide to confirm exactly what will be taught in the webinar, And then you go into their pain. You want to demonstrate a deep understanding of the nightmare scenario that they're in by describing their struggles with as much precision as you can. And you want to make this interactive by talking to them, asking them whether they've experienced this. There's going to be a live chat using in all our webinars, and a lot of people will come out and say, yes, they've experienced these things. And that interactiveness and pain sharing allows everybody to understand that they have experienced this same pain. Then you want to tease them with open loops by framing what the audience will be able to do by the end of the session. And you have to focus on actionable outcomes to keep engagement high throughout the training. And so this is basically where you tell them exactly what they'll get out of the webinar with. You want to give them actionable things that they'll get out of here with. And this kind of urges them on to stay for as long as possible. Remember here that our benchmark for the webinar is to actually have them stay for the pitch, and our goal is to usually have an 85% of the peak registrant attendees stay until the pitch. Then you want to excite them. You want to paint a concrete, emotionally resonant picture of what outcomes look like in real life. Use specific numbers and scenario to make the destination feel both achievable and worth the time investment. So a thing that we like to do recently is to show them the kind of case studies we have, walk them through a bunch of the case studies and show them that the people who are actually within the program or the people who've done this are exactly like them and have gone through the exact pain that they've gone through, suffered the same problems and conquered them. And then after that, that's where we introduce ourselves and we establish authority by demonstrating results rather than boasting. We stack our social proof, personal stories to prove that we are living proof, and we show them exactly what we've done before in order to help them trust us. And we go through all of these prerequisites before we start selling. Then we get into the paradigm. Before the training, you want to flip a core belief by turning a perceived disadvantage into a competitive advantage. And basically, you want to shift the paradigm. This part is about handling the biggest objection that everyone is most likely to have before getting into the actual mechanism. You must always remember that you are trying to sell people on three things: the mechanism, the vehicle that you're selling, yourself as a person that you can make them achieve the mechanism, and you're trying to sell them on themselves. And the goal of this is to break that core belief that they can't do it themselves and that core objection, right? And so you're shifting the paradigm by showing that they too can achieve this. And this resets the audience mental frame to be receptive and optimistic of what you're going to teach. Then you get into the largest part, which is teaching the mechanism. Right? You want to teach only 3 to 5 key concepts to avoid information overload. And for each, you want to explain why it matters and show how to implement it and share a success story securing a yes from the chat after each point. So the goal of teaching the mechanism is to kind of tease them what's going to be in the program, to show them exactly what has happened before, and kind of teach them how your system differs from the market, right? And this is the main thing that they're coming for in the webinar. So you have to make this juicy and you have to give them a lot of information and sauce, but not too much information overload, right? Then after that, you want to ask the room directly if they feel more clear on what they need to do. And once the chat feels yes, or the responses are yes, that's when you want to pivot towards the transition. You want to bridge the gap between education and offer without coming out as aggressive or salesy. You want to frame it as an opportunity for personal access and expertise rather than a hard product pitch. A lot of the mistakes that people do is to directly pitch their offer aggressively. The frame that you should be taking is that if you join us, we can help you deepen your understanding of the offer. We can help you with this specific thing, and that because we're experts within it. Then that's when you present your offer. You want to describe the deliverables, anchor the value against real world results, and then state the price clearly, right? So in here, you want to anchor this according to some of the case studies that you've had, real life results that they can hope to get. And you want to avoid heavy discounting and fake prices, right? You don't want to tell them that this was $1 million, but you get it for $1,000, because then it leads to distrust. You want it to be realistic. You want to say that these are the deliverables that helped, let's say, Jake a customer of ours gets to $10,000 a month within 1 month. These are the things that helped him retire early and stuff like that. Then after you pitch the price, you want to say what it's worth to you, what others have gained from it, what others charged, and what you normally charge. And then you want to pitch them with a special webinar exclusive offer that they only get on the webinar. Then after that, you want to stack 5 to 7 high value bonuses that are more exciting than the core offer and specifically kill potential objections. This should be exclusive to the webinar and feel essentially done for you. So the essential part of the bonuses is you want to give them something that's webinar exclusive to kind of force them to want to buy while they're on the webinar. And these bonuses should be something that you state that are exclusively on the current webinar that you get, so they feel like they cannot get it anywhere else. And they should feel as good as the core offer itself. Then you want to go into risk, which is guarantee or a worst case scenario if they don't get whatever you promised. This is typically done for newer offers that haven't been tested, whereby you want to have a risk reversal. If your offer has been running for quite some time, then most people have kind of figured their way out into what a guarantee should be or look like. Then from there on, you want to go into the most important part, which is a Q&A. And the goal is to handle the objections within the Q&A. You have a 25 to 30 minute window where you demonstrate expertise under pressure and handle the objections of the whole room, all the questions that people have, because usually they have a lot of objections. And the Q&A helps you massively, and it helps your closers and it helps your team, because you're handling the objections that they would otherwise have when they hop on that sales call. And then you want to have a final close, which is a final CTA checkout to book a call. And by this point already, you've given them the type form that they'll use to apply, right? So you go to the type form where they'll be applying, and then from the type form, they'll be redirected to a Calendly, which is embedded natively in the type form, whereby they can book a call with one of the closers or with you directly. Now, what happens after they book a call in order for you to get the revenue? We go into step 6, which is the sales process. One of the key things that we pride ourselves in is that we have a robust sales system that ensures that we are extracting as much value as possible, or we're getting as many sales as possible. So typically we have someone on our team called a dialer, and a dialer's responsibility is to just call the leads, talk to them, qualify them before the actual call, just to ensure that our closers are getting people who are qualified, right? Or you are getting people who are qualified. So after they apply in the type form, a dialer will go ahead and dial the deals, and we'll find out if they're qualified or unqualified. If they're unqualified, you can redirect them towards a lower tier offer that you have, or you could just get on a sales call with them and explore financing options. But if they're qualified, you want to kind of hype them up, answer the questions, just to make sure that they hop on a call with the closer and that you're selling them directly. From there, you want to go into the dialing and setting process. For people who stayed for the pitch and attendees, these are people who didn't actually book in the type form. They probably left early, or they didn't see the need of booking. And what you want to do with these people is that you want to have the dialer dial the leads who didn't apply or didn't fill out their names in that type form. And you want to find out whether they're qualified or unqualified and see whether you can book them into the Calendly. Usually these people have 1 to 2 big objections, and if you can handle that objections clearly on a call, you can get them to buy from you. And our goal is to get as many sales as possible, so it does work out. From there on, you have a webinar 7-day replay, and this is for people who didn't show up or shows that didn't hear the pitch. And for this, we run a 7-day email SMS sequence with replays and a WhatsApp 7-day email flow. And our goal is to send out emails and SMS sequences every day to these people who didn't show, in order to ensure that they watch the webinar at their own time, or we send them WhatsApp to make sure that they watch the webinar at their own time and see whether they can book a call from it. Then every single person who was on the call funnel and didn't end up buying, because we've spent ad spend already warming them up, we want to add them into a call funnel retargeting, 180-day retargeting. And this is usually done for long term, because we like to have hybrid funnels for most of our coaches, because they ensure that you're getting twice the amount of money even when you're not doing any webinars. And you can add them into a call funnel. whereby they can apply later on. From there, they've scheduled the call and you have a call scheduled. Now, I'm going to take you through the pre call processes that we have before we actually sell the people. And this is a mix of automations and sometimes physical people, setters or dialers who will do it. Now, you want to send them value dense email sequences on email or WhatsApp, whereby we're mainly targeting them. And the goal of the value dense email sequences is to kind of give them that last push of all the objections that they kind of have, everything that's going to be in the program, and kind of answer all their questions so that they're super educated by the time they get in, so they can understand the offer keenly and understand exactly what they're getting into. Then you want to send them as 24, 12, 1 hour, 30-minute, and 5-minute reminders. And the goal of these reminders is to look automated so that they don't feel like we're constantly bombarding them with messages all the time, because sometimes some clients may feel like we're bombarding them with messages. So this should look as automated as possible in order for them to view it as webinars. Then you kind of want to send them content, email sequences, hammer them ads, success stories, frequently asked questions, and SMS sequences within the pre-call process to ensure that these people are all hopping on to the sales call finally. And then on the sales call, you have a no-show, a closed, and a no-close. If they don't show up, we call them on the phone twice, we follow up with them, and then we add them to a nurturing email sequence. And then if they don't close, we follow up with them, and then we add them to a nurturing email sequence, and we add them to our next webinar flows. And if they close, we onboard them directly there. I want you to remember that our goal for webinar offers or webinar calls is to have a 40 to 50% close rate for all of our calls. And the reason why we do this is because they're already up to date with exactly what we're trying to sell. They understand every single aspect of it, and with this pre-call process, you're deepening the understanding of exactly what they're getting into. And so by the time they're on the call, they completely understand exactly what's happening. And this calls are usually cash collecting calls, is what we like to call them, because the people are already sold and they want to be quick as possible. They want to join as fast as possible. And the closer, when they hop on a call with a closer, the closer will be directly selling to them. And so that's the entire system that we implemented for Christian in order to get him $50,000 in total revenue, $38,000 in cash collected for his webinar in under 2 weeks. If you would like us to implement this for your business, I'll leave a Calendly form below and you can book in. No pressure. This is just going to be talking about exactly how you can implement webinar funnels, the reason to have webinar funnels, how they're done, and what that would look like for your business currently. Thanks.